Unit GC2 Controlling Workplace Hazards. Element 1, Violence at Work. Key information. Work-related violence is any incident where a worker is abused, threatened or assaulted while working. Various factors influence the risk of work-related violence, and many occupations are at risk. Risk of violence can be managed by providing workplace security measures, establishing safe systems of work, especially for lone workers, and providing information, instruction and training. Risk factors and control measures. Workers may be verbally abused, threatened, verbally and by physical gesture, and even assaulted as they carry out their normal work. There is a growing awareness of this issue in many countries and an understanding that abuse, threats and assault are not inevitable occupational risks that should simply be accepted and ignored. 1. Cash handling. Any work that involves handling quantities of cash or valuables puts workers at risk of violence associated with robbery. 2. Lone working. Any lone working that takes the worker into urban areas, or puts them in contact with members of the public at remote or private locations. 3. Representing authority. Any work where the worker represents authority, such as police, traffic wardens, etc. 4. Wearing a uniform. Uniforms are often seen as a symbol of authority, but even where they are not, workers may still be singled out for abuse. 5. Dealing with people under stress. When people are under stress, they are less capable of handling their emotion and can lose control. 6. Dealing with people under the influence of drugs and alcohol, or with mental health problems, when normal inhibitions on behavior have been affected. 7. Censuring or saying no. Workers who have to give warnings, penalties, fines, or who have to refuse a service, or say no, for example bar staff. Occupational at risk of violence involve one or more of these risk factors. Example include hospital accident and emergency staff, police, social workers, bus and taxi drivers, firefighters and paramedics, traffic wardens, railway staff, estate agents. Control measure for violence. The first step in managing the risk of work-related violence is to find out the exact nature of the problem. Anecdotal evidence may suggest a problem, but its scale and nature may not be clear. The extent of the problem can be investigated by collecting and analyzing incident reports, interviewing staff, formally or informally, staff surveys. It will then be possible to identify and implement the correct preventive measures, which will be different depending on the nature of the workplace and of the work. In general, 2 district strategies can be adopted: preventing violence at a central office, zero tolerance policy and prosecution of offenders, security staff, CCTV cameras, security doors between public areas and staff areas, minimizing queues and waiting times, clear announcements about waiting times, training for staff, for example providing a good quality service, diffusing aggression, etc., screens between staff and public, panic alarms, creating a pleasant environment, preventing violence to workers, conducting home visits, no lone working, or no lone working in certain high-risk areas, keeping records of past incidents and vetting customers, visit logging with a supervisor, pre- and post-visit telephone calls, training for staff, for example lone working procedures, breakaway techniques, self-defense, etc., always having a means of communication, for example mobile phone, no visits after dark, parking in secure areas, not carrying cash or valuables.